Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. I'm kind of bored because I live in a house with roommates and we don't really have a good place for working with molten metal. So I decided to make my favorite Ganesh out of ice. Ironically, it also, water is another substance that expands when it freezes, a lot more than the other stuff that I used, and so it looks very familiar, right? Some of it forms cracks if you don't have it held together, right? Although water's a lot lighter than bismuth, right? So at least the mold doesn't flop around. In fact, it's so light that I keep wanting to go, oh, and pick it up with too much force. I'm so used to this stuff being made of heavy metal, right? But it's very intricate. Almost looks like diamond, right? It's just too bad that it you have to keep it in the freezer, right? In fact, I'm rushing this video because I want to put it back in the freezer to preserve it. If I move back to Rochester, New York, I could in the winter time, right? I could just set these outside, and they could probably last all winter long. I wish I had been doing this back then, right? That would be an eerie scene to see, right? Um, and Another thing I hope to do with the Ganeshas is that one of these days we may discover a relatively stable isotope of moscovium and livermorium. Livermorium has this property. It forms crystal structures that are simple cubic, which means the atoms are very loosely packed. And you can the crystals of livermorium would float very high on top of the liquid livermorium, right? And so it would probably also expand a lot when it freezes, similar to maybe not as much as water does, but it's a good to see what it would look like if you had a substance that expanded a lot when it freezes in the mold, right? Oh my god, that's a beautiful crystal, right? You seldom get something that smooth with bismuth. Obviously, water freezes into ice a lot slower than the liquid bismuth freezing on the stovetop, right? So if we can get bismuth to freeze over a period of 2, 3, 4 hours, right, it would probably turn out just as beautifully. I'll have to figure out the right conditions to do that, right? Maybe get an oven that you can dial the temperature, right? But I'm tempted to try that now that I see how well it turns out under such controlled circumstances, right? Obviously, water has a much higher heat capacity than bismuth, so that's why it takes so long to freeze compared to, well, not heat capacity, heat of fusion is what we need for here, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.